The galaxy had seen many meetings, but this one felt different. High above the spiral arms, the Galactic Council Hall floated in silence. It was a massive ring of light and metal, older than most civilizations inside it. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in their assigned places. Some had wings, some had metal bodies, some did not even have faces. They whispered each other, sharing quiet thoughts through light, sound, or mind signals. Today, a new species was being judged. They were called humans. The humans sat together in a small section near the outer edge of the hall. Compared to others, they looked simple. No glowing skin, no extra limbs, no visible weapons. Just 2 arms, 2 legs, and calm faces. They wore plain dark uniforms. No symbols of power, no signs of fear. Many council members found this amusing. The Karth Dominion, one of the strongest empires in the galaxy, watched the humans closely. Their leader, High Commander Vrax, clicked his sharp claws against the floor. His species had ruled star systems for centuries. They had never met a predator like humans before. In fact, most species in the galaxy had evolved without true predators. Wars were clean, fought by machines. Death was distant and controlled. Vrax leaned forward and spoke. "So," he said, his voice echoing through the hall, "these are the so-called diplomats from Earth?" Soft laughter spread across the council. The human ambassador stood slowly. His name was Elias Morgan. He did not raise his voice. He did not show anger. "Yes," Elias said, "we are here in peace." More laughter. Peace was a word many species liked to hear, but rarely respected. Vrax's eyes narrowed. "Your species is young. Weak. Your bodies are fragile. You fight with emotion, not logic. Tell me, human, why should the galaxy take you seriously?" Elias listened. He did not interrupt. He did not defend himself. He simply nodded. "We understand the concerns," Elias replied. "We ask only for dialogue." That was all. No threat. No challenge. To the council, this sounded like surrender. Whispers grew louder. Some delegates began to ignore the humans completely. Others openly mocked them. A floating being of pure energy commented that humans would not survive one real galactic conflict. Through it all, the humans stayed quiet. But something strange was happening. The hall's ancient sensors began to shift. Old systems, long unused, slowly activated. No alarm sounded. No warnings appeared. Only a soft vibration passed through the structure, like a distant heartbeat. Deep beneath the council hall, buried in layers of forgotten technology, something had noticed the humans. Elias felt it. He paused, just for a moment, then continued as if nothing had happened. The council moved on to trade discussions, but the Karth Dominion was not finished. Vrax stood again, his patience gone. "The Karth Dominion controls the Orion Pass," he said. "Human expansion routes pass through it. If you wish access, you will submit to our terms." The message was clear. Obey or be blocked. The human delegates exchanged brief looks. No fear. No panique. Elias stepped forward once more. "We request a private meeting," he said calmly. "Just one." Vrax laughed openly now. "You ask for favors after insults? You truly do not understand your place." Still, the request was noted. Protocol demanded it. The council agreed. The lights dimmed slightly as the meeting ended. Species began to leave, confident that the humans would soon learn the truth of galactic power. But as the humans turned to exit, something unexpected happened. The ancient archive cores beneath the hall fully awakened. Record from extinct civilizations began to unlock. Symbols flashed across forgotten screens. One classification, and used for millions of years, appeared again. Apex predator. No one noticed. Not yet. The humans walked away in silence, their footsteps steady, their faces calm. To the galaxy, they were weak diplomats asking for mercy. But the galaxy had made a mistake. It mistook silence for fear. And that mistake was about to cost everything. The galaxy believed it had already understood humans. After the council meeting, reports spread fast. Scientists, military analysts, and political leaders across dozens of star systems reviewed human data. The conclusion was almost the same everywhere. Humans were emotional, Humans were divided. Humans were not dangerous. They had no natural armor, no claws, no venom. Their strength came from tools, not biology. To most alien minds, that meant weakness. The Karth Dominion agreed more than anyone. High Commander Vrack stood inside his flagship, staring at a floating image of Earth. Blue oceans, green land, a fragile world. This species survived by luck, he said to his generals. Remove their support and they will fold. His officers clicked in approval. Their kind had never faced creatures that hunted for survival. On their homeworld, danger had been controlled long ago. Fear was something studied, not felt. Orders were given. A single Karth fleet moved toward the edge of human space. Not a full invasion. Just pressure. A message. When the fleet arrived near a small human colony, they sent a formal warning. No weapons fired. No ships destroyed. Withdraw, the message said. This region is now under Karth control. On the human side, the response was slow. Too slow. Karth sensors showed human ships changing course. Supply routes were cut. Defense platforms powered down. From the outside, it looked like retreat. Vrax watched the data with satisfaction. They are choosing survival, he said, as expected. But he did not see what the humans were doing beneath the surface. On Earth, far from the stars, human leaders gathered in silence. No shouting, no panic, just quiet faces watching screens. Colony 7 has fallen back, one officer reported. Good, another replied. The word confused some of the newer commanders. Good? Human history had taught them something the galaxy never learned. Survival did not always mean standing your ground. Sometimes it meant stepping back and waiting. In the colony system, Karth forces moved freely now. They scanned empty stations and abandoned outposts. No traps, no resistance. It felt wrong. The Karth generals felt it too, but they ignored the feeling. Fear had never helped them before. Then, without warning, human signals began to change. Communication bursts appeared and vanished. Old satellites activated. Silent objects in deep space powered on for the first time in decades. The Karth fleet noticed, but too late. Human ships did not return in force. They returned in patterns. One by one, Karth vessels lost connection. Not destroyed. Not attacked. Just gone. Their weapon systems failed first. Then navigation. Then internal power. No explosions. No alarms. Just darkness. The Karth commanders demanded answers. Their engineers found nothing wrong. Systems were intact, yet useless. From the human side, a single message was finally sent. We are observing. Vrax stared at the screen, confusion replacing his confidence. This was not how war was supposed to begin. Human ships appeared at the edge of sensor range. They did not advance. They did not threaten. They waited. Slowly. The Karth fleet realized something terrifying. The humans were not fighting to win quickly. They were hunting. For the first time in Karth history, their commanders felt a new emotion rise in their minds. Not anger, not pride, fear. And somewhere, deep within the ancient galactic archives, old records continue to unlock, confirming what the galaxy had once tried to forget. Some species do not conquer. They endure. They adapt. And when pushed too far, they remind the universe why predators were never meant to be underestimated. No one in the galaxy noticed the first sign. There was no explosion, no battle report, no emergency call for help. A small human listening station near the edge of known space simply went silent. For most species, this meant nothing. Stations failed all the time. Power loss, system errors, bad maintenance. It was normal. The Galactic Council barely logged the event before moving on to more important matters. The Karth Dominion noticed it too, but for a different reason. The station was close to their controlled zone. High Commander Vrax studied the data with quiet interest. No debris, no distress signal, just silence. Send a probe, he ordered, and alert no one. The probe returned hours later. The station was intact. Doors closed. Systems powered down in perfect order. No signs of struggle. No bodies. No damage. The humans were gone. Vrax felt a brief moment of unease, but he dismissed it. Humans were known to abandon positions when pressured. It matched the image the galaxy already had of them. On Earth, the reaction was very different. Human command did not panic. They did not argue. They did not demand answers. They listened. Every piece of data was reviewed. Sensor logs, internal recordings, even background noise. Specialists watched the same seconds again and again. Finally, one analyst spoke. "They wanted us to see this," she said. That single sentence changed everything. The missing station was not a loss. It was a message, a warning. Human fleets were not mobilized. No war declaration was sent. No dramatic speech followed. Instead, quiet orders moved through human space. Observation mode only. Military crews were confused, but they obeyed. Human doctrine was old, built on lessons written in blood long before humans ever left Earth. When something touches the edge of your territory without leaving marks, you do not chase it. You wait. Days passed. Then another human asset vanished. This time, a cargo ship. No wreckage. No survivors. The pattern was clear now. Someone was testing them. The galaxy expected outrage. It never came. Car commanders began to grow impatient. Their strategy relied on fear, on reaction, on visible weakness. But the humans gave them nothing. Instead, human sensors started seeing things they were not meant to see. Tiny disturbances in space. Slight energy shadows. Movement where nothing should move. Predators do not rush when they lose sight of prey. They circle. The first real response came without warning. A Karth patrol ship crossed into human space, following what they believed was an abandoned route. Their scanners showed nothing unusual. No defenses. No ships. Then their systems began to lag. Not fail. Lag. Commands took longer to respond. Navigation drifted by fractions of a degree. Communications echoed strangely. The Karth crew reported the issue. Then the report cut off. Minutes later, the ship reappeared on human sensors, drifting, powerless. Crew alive but unconscious. Humans recovered the vessel. They did not announce it. They studied it. The technology inside was impressive but flawed. Built for dominance, not survival. Designed by a species that had never faced a thinking enemy. Human analysts reached the same conclusion. The Karth were strong, but they were careless. That night, a short message was sent from Human Command to the Galactic Council. It contained only one sentence. "We request that all border incidents be reviewed carefully." No accusation, no threat. To the Council, it sounded like a polite complaint. To the Karth Dominion, it felt like something else. A line had been drawn. And for the first time, the galaxy stood unknowingly between a hunter and its prey, still believing the hunter was harmless, still unaware that humans were only now beginning to pay attention. The first battle between humans and the Karth Dominion was never called a battle. There were no heroic charges, no burning worlds, no fleets crashing into each other under flashing weapons fire. In fact, most of the galaxy never realized anything had happened at all. But the Karth Dominion did. It began when 3 of their warships stopped responding at the same time. No warning signals. No explosions. Just silence. Their transponders vanished from a network, as if someone had erased them. High Commander Vrax demanded answers. Engineers searched for system faults. Navigators blamed stellar interference. Military analysts argued it was coincidence. Then a 4th ship went dark. And then a 5th. Panic spread quietly through the command decks. Karth doctrine had never prepared them for this. They were used to open conflict, clear enemies, visible threats. They had never faced an opponent who refused to be seen. A probe was launched into the region where the ships vanished. It returned intact, carrying only one piece of data. Empty space. No wreckage. No energy residue. Nothing. To the Karth, this was impossible. On the human side, the situation was calm. Human ships moved slowly through deep space, engines cooled, Signatures reduced to near zero. Crew spoke in low voices. No one celebrated. No one rushed. This was not war. This was correction. Human commanders remembered something the galaxy had forgotten. Conflict did not require noise. Dominance did not require destruction. Sometimes, the most effective response was to remove the enemy's ability to act. One by one, Karth vessels were intercepted, not attacked, boarded. Human teams moved fast and silent. Lights cut, controls locked, crews restrained without lethal force. Weapons left untouched. The Karth soldiers were confused. They expected rage. They expected cruelty. They found neither. Instead, they found humans who worked with cold focus, like predators that had already decided the outcome. Captured ships were released hours later, drifting back toward Karth space. Systems restored. Crews alive. Inside each ship, a single message waited on the main screen. This was a warning. When the first disabled ship returned home, panic could no longer be hidden. Vrax stared at the report, his claws trembling slightly. His fleet had not been defeated. It had been handled. He ordered all Karth forces to regroup and fortify. Borders closed. Weapons armed. Still, human ships did not advance. They waited. That waiting was worse than any attack. Karth commanders began to realize something terrifying. Humans were choosing restraint, not because they lacked strength, but because they did not need to prove it. The Galactic Council finally noticed irregularities. Reports of missing ships. Strange returns. Silent encounters. They requested an explanation from both sides. The Karth response was filled with anger and confusion. The human response was simple. Diplomacy has limits, the human ambassador said calmly. We informed you when those limits were crossed. The room fell silent. Some council members felt a chill run through their bodies. Others dismissed it as posturing. But deep within the council's ancient data vaults, long-forgotten warnings resurfaced. Records of species that fought quietly. Species that did not conquer worlds, but erased threats. A classification appeared again, glowing faintly in the archives. Apex behavior detected. The galaxy had finally begun to notice, but it was already too late to pretend this was just diplomacy. The Karth Dominion thought they understood fear. They had studied it in simulations, measured it in controlled environments, reduced it to numbers and chemical reactions. Fear, to them, was a weakness that had been engineered out of society long ago. What they felt now was not fear. It was something deeper. Across Karth space, ships returned from the border drifting and damaged, crews shaken and silent. No one could explain how the humans did it. No weapon signatures. No visible fleets. Just sudden loss of control, followed by release. Always release. That detail disturbed the Karth the most. If humans could take their ships so easily, why give them back? Vrax demanded answers from his intelligence core. Historical records were searched, including ancient archives the Dominion rarely touched. That was when they found it. Old data from extinct civilizations. Species erased so completely that even their names were missing. The only thing left was a warning repeated in different languages and symbols. Predator species do not seek constant dominance. They seek balance. Vrax read the line again and again. On Earth, human leaders finally spoke openly among themselves. We've been patient long enough, one commander said. But not cruel, another replied. This was not a debate. It was a rule. Humans had learned long ago that power without control destroyed everything, including the one who held it. They had not survived Earth by being the strongest. They survived by being the smartest predators. Human scientists prepared a message, not for the Karth military, not for their leaders, for the galaxy. The transmission was sent through open council channels. Every major species received it. It was not a threat. It was a lesson. The humans spoke of Earth, of oceans filled with hunters, of land where every step once meant danger, of nights where survival depended on awareness, cooperation, and restraint. We did not become peaceful because we were gentle. The message said, we became peaceful because we learned when to stop. Images followed, not of battles, of animals, lions, wolves, Sharks, creatures that kill to live, not to rule. Many alien minds struggled to process this. They had no such history. For them, conflict was mechanical, distant, clean. For humans, conflict was personal. The Karth Dominion felt exposed. Their strength had been built on intimidation, on visible power. But humans did not react to intimidation. They studied it. They adapted to it. Vrax finally understood the mistake. The humans had never been pretending to be weak. They had been pretending to be safe. At the council hall, reactions were divided. Some species panicked. Others demanded protection. A few quietly backed away from Karth influence. And the humans? They made no demands. They withdrew their ships to neutral space and waited. That waiting sent a clear message. Humans were not expanding. They were watching. And if pushed again, the galaxy would not just learn what humans could do. It would learn why predators, once cornered, never forget. The truth was finally clear to those willing to see it. Humans were not monsters. They were something far more dangerous. They were disciplined apex predators who had chosen diplomacy not because they had to, but because they could. The galaxy changed its behavior without admitting it. Trade routes slowly shifted away from human space. Patrols doubled near neutral zones. Military drills became quieter, more careful. No official announcement was made, but everyone felt it. Attention had turned toward one species. Humans. They were not expanding. They were not threatening anyone. They did not celebrate their strength or display it in fleets and weapons. They simply existed. That alone made the galaxy uneasy. In the Galactic Council, emergency sessions were called more often. Species that once argued loudly now spoke with caution. Records were reviewed. Long-forgotten histories were reopened. Something troubling began to appear. Civilizations that vanished without wars. Borders that collapsed without invasions. Systems that fell silent with no clear cause. In every case, one detail repeated. A species that avoided attention until it was too late. The Council Archivist finally unlocked the deepest layer of historical data. It required multiple species approval, a process that had not been used in millions of years. What they found shook them. A classification system older than the Council itself. Threat levels that went beyond military power. One category had been sealed away. Adaptive apex species. The description was short. Do not provoke. Do not corner. Do not mistake calm for weakness. The humans matched every line. Across the galaxy, reactions spread fast. Some species rushed to form alliances with humans. Others closed their borders completely. A few quietly erased hostile statements from their records, hoping no one would remember. The Karth Dominion felt the shift immediately. Their influence weakened. Trade partners hesitated. Neighboring systems refused joint operations. Fear had finally reached them. High Commander Vrax stood alone in his command chamber, staring at a star map that no longer favored his empire. For the first time, dominance felt fragile. The humans had not destroyed a single world. They did not need to. Their restraint had spoken louder than war. A formal council request was finally sent to Earth. Not a demand. A question. What do humans want? The human response was delayed. Not because they struggled to answer, but because they chose their words carefully. When the message arrived, it was simple. We want what we have always wanted. Space to exist. Peace when possible. Respect, always. There were no conditions. No threats. That was what terrified the galaxy the most. Because it meant humans were confident enough to walk away. As the council session ended, one final note was added to the archives. Not a law. Not a warning. A reminder. The most dangerous species is not the one that seeks control, but the one that can take it and chooses not to. From that day on, the galaxy watched humans differently. Not as diplomats. Not as conquerors. But as something older, quieter, and far more aware. A species that learned long ago that survival did not belong to the loudest voice, but to the patient predator waiting in the dark. The galaxy never announced its decision. There was no grand declaration, no rewritten charter displayed across the stars. Yet everyone understood that something final had happened. The rules had changed. Human space was no longer treated as a testing ground or a weak border. Trade lanes were rerouted with careful distance. Military exercises avoided nearby systems. Even the most aggressive empires adjusted their maps, not because humans demanded it, because no one wanted to be the next lesson. In the Galactic Council Hall, a quiet amendment was added to the archives. It did not name humans directly. It did not accuse or threaten. It simply stated that certain species required special consideration. Those words carried more weight than any weapon. The Karth Dominion, once proud and loud, withdrew its fleets. High Commander Vrax resigned soon after, his authority broken not by defeat, but by realization. His empire had met something it could not intimidate, outnumber, or predict. They had met restraint. On Earth, life continued as normal. Cities still slept and woke. Children still looked at the stars with curiosity, not hunger. Most humans never knew how close the galaxy had come to disaster. And that was by design. Human leaders chose silence. No victory speeches. No celebrations. No monuments. They understood something simple. True predators do not brag. They survive. In private, human commanders reviewed the conflict and closed the files. The conclusion was short. Diplomacy succeeded. Not because humans were weak, but because the galaxy finally listened. Years later, new species entering the council would ask about humans. They would see calm diplomats, polite voices, fair trade agreements. And someone older would quietly explain, they are peaceful, but only because peace is their choice. That lesson spread farther than fear ever could. The galaxy learned to respect borders, to speak carefully, to think before pushing, not because humans ruled the stars, but because they could have. In the deepest archive, one final line was written beneath the human classification. Status: stable, non-hostile, extremely capable. And below it, in smaller text, a warning meant only for those wise enough to look. Never forget, humans were predators long before they became diplomats. The galaxy did not fear humans anymore. It understood them. And understanding, at last, brought peace